Hello family and friends and fellow YouTubers, it's Kim here from Kim's Country Corner, and I am out at the Hancock Homestead. I am here in the kitchen because it is that time of the year to make homemade vegetable salsa, and I will be using the recipe that is in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, okay? And I will go through the ingredients and the steps when we get to that part. Right now I am just prepping the vegetables. Before I started prepping though, I wanted to show off my new birthday t-shirt. Just one of the t-shirts that I got for my birthday. And so I wanted to show that to you. I think it's really cute. It says American Chick. But now I'm going to put on my apron. And I am going to start prepping veggies. And I've already done the onions because I did them over at the sink, and I knew I would have watery eyes and a red face, so I didn't really want all that on camera. So the onions have already been done, and I think I have enough there. Okay, but we need to do these peppers, and we need to do the jalapeno peppers. These peppers came out of our garden, but the jalapeno peppers I bought because we don't ever do them. And I have 3 bowls because I'm going to be doing 3 different colors, and I'll explain that as we do the recipe. You'll see why. You do not have to do this part with the ice water. I just always do because I like to rinse off all the seeds. So I just dump these in ice water. And that kind of helps to wash them off and crisp them up at the same time. In fact, sometimes I just leave them soak in there until I'm ready to move on. And then, after I slice them and I rinse the seeds off, I have found that using a pair of scissors is like so much easier for me. So then I just chop them into little bits. They will cook down some, so you don't want to get the bits too small. Just kind of have to decide what you want for your veggies. Like, I wouldn't go any smaller than that. I like them like that. But anyway, it's preference, however you want your salsa, whether you want it chunky or whether you want it, small, more sauce-like. So I do know that the recipe called for 1 cup of green peppers. But I like the different colors, so I always do a 1/3 cup of each color. But I always make 2 batches too, so I got to make sure that I have at least 2/3 cup of each color. So I kind of aim for a cup of each color, and anything that I have left over, then John just uses on his salads. So But just know that you're going to need at least a cup of peppers. And then for the jalapeno peppers, the recipe calls for 8 jalapeno peppers, but when we use that many, it's way too spicy for us. So we always cut that in half to 4. But like I said, I do 2 batches. So I will be prepping 8 jalapeno peppers, but we'll only use half. And I think it came out to a 1/3 cup, I think, is what it equaled out. I've got my jars in the dishwasher, so if you guys are hearing noises, it's probably the dishwasher washing the jars, and it's probably the air conditioning trying to keep me cool on this hot fall day. Even though it's fall, it's pretty warm today. Last year, I did not do any canning. I was going back looking at my canning, and I was like, what did I do last year? I don't remember doing anything last year. So I went back to my playlist, and the last canning I had done was in 2020. And I was like, why didn't I do any canning last year? And then I remembered that last year was the year that my sister treated me to a special birthday. I turned 60 last year, and she treated me to a birthday trip to the Northeast. We went up to Maine, and we went up through Indiana, Ohio, New York, into Maine, and came back through Pennsylvania, and just saw all kinds of sights last year. We went up in the fall. We left, I think we left the week before my birthday, the end of August, and we didn't come back until the middle of October. I think we were gone like 6 weeks, and 6-7 weeks, and it was a lot of fun, let me tell you. Got to go to Acadia, the Acadia National Park up in Maine. Maine is beautiful, and when we were going up, the leaves had not yet started turning. They were kind of turning, but they weren't that fall wow that you keep hearing about. But by the time we got to Acadia and we made that trip back, and we came through Vermont and New Hampshire and Pennsylvania, oh my goodness, we got the fall wows. So that's why I didn't have any canning last year, is because I was enjoying my trip with my sister to the Northeast. Got to see all those fall colors. The bright greens, the bright reds, the bright yellows weren't peppers, they were leaves on the trees. Got to see some pumpkin patches, and it was just really cool. Acadia in Maine is just a beautiful, beautiful national park. And then Vermont, New Hampshire, and even Pennsylvania in the fall, when you hear about the Vermont colors, and they're not lying. It's just beautiful. So anyway, Jody, if you're watching my video about canning, thank you for last year. Thank you for my birthday last year. And I've had a pretty good birthday this year too. Got some t-shirts, got a new computer. The new computer was a birthday present to myself. It was from me to me, but I still count it as my #1 birthday present. I really needed one in there, so those look pretty good. All right, there are my 3 colors, my do have some peppers left in here, so I'll let John have those. I've got enough there. All right, friends, so we have the onions and we have the 3 colors of peppers. All right, now we got to do those jalapeno peppers. So let me get a bowl down for them. All right. Okay, now we're moving on to the jalapeno peppers. Now, when you do jalapeno peppers, you want to wear gloves because they have an oil on them that will burn your hands, burn any part of the body that you touch with your hands. So make sure you don't touch your face, especially your eyes, if you're doing jalapeno peppers. Let me get prepared to do the jalapenos and I'll be right back. So I got some plastic gloves here this year. I actually use these for gardening sometimes when I don't want to get my hands all yucky. And John uses them, but they're disposable gloves, so I can use them for this too. So once I get done using them, I can just throw them away. I did get jalapeno oil on me one year, which burned and burned. So I looked up how to get rid of it, and if you take, I think it's rubbing alcohol. If you wash your hands really good, soap and water, of course, to get as much of the oil off as you can, and then you use rubbing alcohol, and you just pour the rubbing alcohol all over where the oil is at. I think that's what I use. It got rid of the burning. So there is a way to get rid of the burning. But the best way is prevention. So I'm going to go ahead and put on our rubber gloves this year. Another thing I did one year when I didn't have rubber gloves is I just took a Walmart sack and put that over my hands and used that. So as long as you got plastic over your hands. All right, get out these hot peppers. Of course, as soon as you start dealing with it, then you're like, oh, everything itches. Psychological. All right. Of course, I will be throwing these sacks away. They will not be reused. So once again, I just cut that top off, put it down the middle. Take out that inner core, those inner seeds. Stick in my ice water there to get the seeds off. It's those little seeds that make it hot too, man. All right. You have to have the jalapeno peppers though, because I'm a very mild person. I don't like a lot of hot stuff. I don't like a lot of seasoning. So one year I decided to do a batch without the jalapeno peppers. I just did a half a batch, like one round without the peppers. And it was too bland. It didn't have any flavor. So you do have to have the jalapeno peppers in order to give it any kind of salsa flavor at all. But you don't have to put in as many. So I kind of just compromised. I was like, okay, I will use them, but not as many. And that's like you'll find whenever I get ready to go through the spices with you. One year we used the full amount of cilantro. We did not like the taste of that. So then the next year we just cut it in half. So this recipe can kind of be adjusted. But you have to, I don't know how to say this, because you have to have the equilibrium of your acid, the balance of the acid to be right in order for the jars to seal and be properly preserved, okay? Because the acid is what kills the bacteria. When you do pressure canning in a pressure cooker, it's the heat that kills the bacteria that causes food poisoning. But when you do salsa, or like tomatoes, it's the acid that kills the bacteria that causes food poisoning. So whenever you're canning, you have to make sure you have that balance of acid. The tomato quota and the lemon juice quota and the vinegar quota, all of those you don't want to tamper with. But you can change the amount of peppers and the amount of spices, because the peppers and the spices don't interfere with the acid content. But you have to have the amount of peppers, but you have to have the amount of tomatoes that calls for, and the amount of lemon juice and the amount of vinegar, because those will determine your acid level. All right. If you want to know any more about that, like I said, get this book, a complete book of home preserving, and it will explain all of that in there to you. So we don't want anybody getting sick, or worse yet, dying from food poisoning. So you've got to make sure that you can properly according to the instructions, and you don't want to vary from those instructions too much. You have to understand what you're doing. And so I understand that the peppers and the seasoning is not affecting the acid content. So those I can play around with a little bit. But don't play around with the tomatoes, and don't play around with the lemon juice and vinegar, because those you have to have on mark. I'm just kind of talking to you guys while I do this work, because it helps to pass the time. And I will probably put this in its own video, prepping the veggies, because if I don't, then the salsa video gets too long. One year I did everything in one video. I did the prepping of the veggies, I did the making of the salsa, I did the canning of the salsa, and it was a very long video. So I found that I like to divide it into two parts, and actually I like to divide it work-wise into two parts too, so that I do the prepping on one day, and then I do the canning, or I do the making of it and the canning of it the next day. All right. Those sliced up or cut up. If you want a real quick how to do this video, I've got a bunch of jibber jabber. I do have one in my playlist called Fast Guide fast guide to making salsa. So just go back and watch that one, and it does it really quick, where I just basically concentrate on the steps without a bunch of jibber jabber. But I'm not going to do another fast guide because that one turned out pretty good. It's only a couple of years old, so if people want to see a fast version, they can just look at that one. This is just part of my, well, I'm going to be doing this anyway and making a video anyway, but this is part of my Vlog-tember. Since it was my birthday month and I had my new computer and was able to, start making videos again, I decided to try to do Vlog-tember. So this video is not exactly a how-to. I mean, if you want to know how to, of course I'm telling you how to, but this is more of a vlog type video where I just do a lot of talking while I work. I want to thank all of my loyal subscribers out there that have been with me since 2015. It says on my apron. And I want to welcome several new subscribers. If you want to help out my channel, please hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Have you ever made vegetable salsa? I always call it tomato salsa, but in the recipe book it's called vegetable salsa. Have you ever done vegetable salsa? Do you have any tips or tricks that we should know about? Also, I do have a PayPal account. If you go to my YouTube page, it's up in the corner. I think it says PayPal me at Kim's Country Corner. So, I don't usually ask for money, but every little bit helps to do these projects. Usually whatever money I make from YouTube, I try to put back into my channel in some way. Like, I did use a little bit of my YouTube money to buy my computer. It didn't have a whole lot, only made $100, but $100 helped towards the software that I needed to put on it. So, but I'm going to make these videos whether I get paid or PayPal. So you don't feel obligated. Just saying, if you enjoy my videos and you want to contribute, that's fine. I appreciate it. I usually try to give a shout out when someone does. I usually try to send people a little note or mention it in my video what I use the money for. If they PayPal me. Now, if I get the money from YouTube, we are finished with the prep of the peppers and the onions. Now we're going to slice and dice those tomatoes. Let me clean this up and we'll move on to the tomatoes. Okay, friends, so now we're on to the preparation of the tomatoes. And the recipe calls for 7 cups of chopped tomatoes. And this is a 4-cup measuring cup, and I usually do about 2 of these. And you can do the tomatoes 2 different ways. Of course, you can, just take them out and cut them up by hand using, kitchen scissors or a knife with a cutting board, whatever you feel comfortable doing. You will get a little bit bigger pieces, chunks, if you do it by hand. So what I have ended up doing is I do about 4 cups by hand. The first cup I'll do by hand, that I can have bigger chunks of tomato. So when I'm cutting the tomatoes up, I try to picture them on a chip. You know, like I don't want them too big where they're not going to set on a chip. So alright, so here is 4 cups of finely chopped tomatoes. So I put them in my bowl, and then what I do is I put some in here because these chop them up even more finely. And let's see, this does have a measuring thing on it. What's this on here? This is a Food Ninja, and it holds 9 cups, so I just need to do halfway here. Well, not quite halfway, but you understand. All right. Have that lid securely on, it will not start. Okay, there we go. Alright, so to show you the difference with the food processor, it comes out looking like that. And when you do it by hand, you end up getting little chunks like that. And since I like it with a little bit of chunk to it, I always try to cut some by hand. But then I also do some like this. So, my first thing of tomatoes is ready to go. And now we are ready to mix all of this together to make our salsa.